What's up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today, as the host of Locked On Rockets, I'll be breaking down Jalen Green and the insane stretch of play that he is having to end this season for the Houston Rockets, breaking records left and right. What exactly is different now for Jalen Green compared to the struggles that he faced earlier in this Rockets season, as well as highlighting some of the other rookies for this Houston Rockets team in Josh Christopher and Alperen Sengun. But first, a quick message from our friends over at BetOnline, because betonline.net is your number one source for all of your betting needs and sports info. Look, we've got NBA playoffs right around the corner. And if you haven't gotten any money down on who you think the title favorite is this season, you've still got time to do that. Right now, the Phoenix Suns are plus 300 to win the NBA championship this season. Coming in right behind them, you got the Milwaukee Bucks at plus 575 to come back and repeat as title champs. Brooklyn Nets coming in at plus 700. And then the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors rounding out the top five at plus 750 apiece. Now, BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. You can find all of the latest sports developments, including this week's Masters Championship odds, podcasts, and reviews for all the different leagues this season. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action available to you. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. And joining us now is the host of the Locked On Rockets podcast, me, Jackson Gatlin. You can follow me on Twitter at JT Gatlin. Now, this Houston Rockets team is definitely one of the few teams in the association with eyes towards the NBA draft this year, headed for a bottom three record in back-to-back seasons. But the bright spot amidst the struggling, the losses, has been the growth and development of rookie Jalen Green. And Jalen Green is on an absolute tear to close out the regular season, averaging 29 points per contest over his last 6 games. But the big question, what's different now for Jalen Green compared to some of his struggles early on this season with the Houston Rockets? So first of all, earlier this season with the Houston Rockets, they were running like a double big lineup, and they were trying to make things work with Christian Wood and Daniel Tice, and that kind of mucked everything up for not just Jalen Green, but everybody on this Houston Rockets roster. It went to a 15-game losing streak to start the year. It was tough sledding for this Rockets team. You know, nobody expected this Rockets team to be vying for a play-in spot or anything of that nature, but a 15-game losing streak to start the season is pretty rough. Inside of that, and even past that, Jalen Green dealt with, maybe some uncertainty of how to really attack, how to be the best version of himself offensively. We saw some hesitancy at times where he would kind of make his first move and a defender would maybe close him off or wall him off. And he would just very willingly, kind of passively kick the ball back out to the top of the key and not really look to, attack a second time or reload and attack from a different angle, different things like that. Whereas post All-Star break, we've basically seen a different version of Jalen Green, a more aggressive version and a more confident version of him on the floor, because now we're seeing him with a wider bag where he's got more tools at his disposal to beat an opposing defense. He seems more comfortable with his handle. He's more willing to adapt to what defenses are giving him. And a big part of that has actually been his willingness to go back to the mid-range game, which was an area that I thought was so unique to him, or really exciting about him. Doing the scouting, doing the draft profile on him when the Rockets selected him number 2 overall, I thought he was a true 3-level scorer. But for the better part of half of this season, he hasn't really been a 3-level scorer. He's gotten it done at the rim, or he's been able to get it going outside when the 3 ball is falling. But in games where the 3 ball wasn't falling, things looked really, really rough around the edges. Since the All-Star break, Jalen Green has really unlocked that mid-range area of his game. He's snaking pick and rolls. He's getting to the mid-range spots consistently because that's what defenses are giving him. And then when defenses have started to key in on the fact that he's willing to take that mid-range shot, it's completely opened up the rest of his game. Jalen Green has scored 4 games in a row, 30 plus points, 4 games in a row. The last rookie to do that was Allen Iverson. The last rookie to do that before AI was Michael Jordan. That is rarefied air to be to be in the same presence of as AI and Jordan, two of the all-time greats to play the game. Not only that, but Jalen Green is now the all-time NBA history all-time record holder for 5 or more three-pointers made over a stretch of 4 or more games. Nobody else has that record. Jalen Green has been breaking records left and right. He is the first Rockets rookie since Hakeem Olajuwon to score 30 plus in back-to-back games. Again, this is a kid who, coming out of the draft, had a lot of hype surrounding him and didn't quite hit the ground running with his NBA season the way that kind of expectations were set out for him to do. But since the All-Star break, the two best rookies in the association have been Cade Cunningham and Jalen Green. Number one and number two, respect. I mean, they have both been on an absolute tear since the All-Star break. And ultimately, we're going to look back on this 2021 NBA draft. And I think in years to come, we're going to compare this most recent draft class to that of the 2003 draft class with LeBron and Carmelo and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. So many iconic names from this past 2 decades of NBA basketball. That's exactly what's going to happen when we look back at all of the talent at the top end of this year's NBA draft, from Cade Cunningham to Jalen Green to Evan Mobley, who's had a very impressive NBA campaign. Scotty Barnes, Jalen Suggs, Josh Giddey, Jonathan Kuminga. It was a very, very stellar draft this past go-around. Now, ultimately, even with Jalen Green's recent stretch of success, does he have a legitimate shot at the Rookie of the Year award? He's kind of an outsider fighting his way in. Evan Mobley is kind of the, clear-cut lead at this point, although he's kind of losing a bit of ground due to his recent injury. Cade Cunningham maybe gaining on him a little bit. Scotty Barnes' name has to be in the pack as well as he has played and as good as the Toronto Raptors have looked this season out east. But does Jalen Green have a shot to maybe squeak his way in as a finalist, given the way that he's playing to close out the season? Absolutely. And I think it would be very tough to bump one of those other three out of the running, but you have to give some hardcore consideration to Jalen Green because of how impressive he's been in this closing stretch. Jalen Green now has 6 30-plus games as a rookie. The NBA at in total has 17 games of rookies scoring 30-plus. The Rockets are responsible for 7 of those games, 6 from Jalen Green, 1 from his teammate in Josh Christopher. The other 10, the next 2 closest on the list, Cade Cunningham has a pair of 30-point games, and Trey Mann has a pair of 30-point games. So Jalen Green has 3 times as many 30-point games as the next rookie on the list, or next rookies on the list, in Cade Cunningham and Trey Mann. But not only Jalen Green. The Rockets' future is bright for a couple other reasons, and that includes Josh Christopher, his teammate, who Jalen Green and Josh Christopher become the first pair of rookie teammates in NBA history to score 30-plus points in the same game. Josh Christopher has a really versatile offensive game, can get it done inside, is a terror going downhill, and shows really impressive spurts defensively, is going to be an absolute two-way force here in the NBA. And then how can I get away without mentioning Alperen Sengun, who is arguably maybe the steal of the NBA draft, coming in at pick number 16. Alperen Sengun walking away with at least 1 to 2 highlight reel passes every single night that he plays a basketball game. He does the behind the head passes. He does the behind the back passes. He does the no look passes. He does so much insane stuff on the basketball floor. It is very, I don't like to throw this comp around a lot, but it's very Nikola Jokic-esque in how Alperen Sengun plays the game of basketball, how quickly he processes things offensively, and just how exciting it is to watch him out there when he's dropping dimes left and right, and you just walk away with your jaw on the floor because he's seeing plays that are developing with eyes in the back of his head. It's something pretty impressive to watch if you haven't caught a Houston Rockets basketball game this season. But as one of the worst teams in the association, gunning for a bottom 3 record, the Rockets are headed for the draft lottery. And as part of heading that direction, there comes evaluation of top prospects. And at this point, who makes the most sense for this Houston Rockets team moving forward as a top prospect, it's got to be Jabari Smith Jr. in my eyes. He makes the most sense for this Houston Rockets team if they were to walk away with the number 1 overall pick. He's got the hyper shooting. He's got the solid level defensive play. He's got a 6'10 frame. He's a strong rebounder. He is everything that you want to add to this already exciting young Rockets core, to be able to have another player to kind of accentuate Jalen Green and Alperen Sengun and their young, exciting point guard in Kevin Porter Jr. So when you look at Jabari Smith Jr. and all the tools that he has at his disposal, he seems to me at pretty much almost a lock for the number 1 overall pick. You look at Chet Holmgren, there's a lot there. I do have some reservations about just his the physicals, honestly, at this point, with how skinny he is. And maybe that's not a fair issue to have. There were some overblown worries about Evan Mobley and his build coming into the NBA last season. And Evan Mobley completely silenced all of those critics and is now the leading candidate to walk away as the rookie of the year this season. But with that, for all musings on the Houston Rockets and to keep up with everything Jalen Green, you can check out Locked On Rockets.